some off-brand Ray-Bans, and look at that T-shirt. And in fact, they actually played games with said deer. Poker, the deer won every single time. It's incredible. And guess who was the first one out of the house that morning? It was me. The crazy thing is, guys, this was about 4 or 5 feet in front of my front door. It was dark, okay? I opened the door, I walked out, I opened my eyes, I looked to my right and to my left, and then I walked away, and I did not see the deer whatsoever. I'm serious. If it was like a person that was there with like some sort of weapon, like I would not be standing here right now, or maybe I would. Absolutely crazy. But this deer was right in front of me, and I literally did not see it at all. Who here thinks they would have seen the deer for sure? Raise your hands. Connor did see the deer. That's crazy. Who thinks they would have like totally missed it like me because they were really tired that morning? Yeah, everyone. Which is pretty crazy, guys. Sometimes, and hear me out when I say this, sometimes we walk past Jesus kind of like that deer, which is actually pretty crazy. And so I actually know for a fact, I have been doing these retreats for a while, that there is a group of people that as soon as I said Jesus, I said his name, some of you guys like stopped listening. And that's okay. I've been in your seats, like not just as your counselors, not just as a missionary, but like I've been like your age in seats, like literally like this guy right here, like front row, like sitting right here, being like, okay, what the heck's going on? I've been there. I've actually been there. And I want to let you guys know that I'm like with you in that. And I don't know if you've like heard this story like 100 times, or you've heard 100 talks or all that sort of stuff, but tonight I just want to invite you that it's going to be different than you think. That the story of Jesus, like properly understood, like is supposed to change something when you walk out of the room. And I want to present to you either what I'm going to say is either true or it's false. That makes sense, right? But it's not true for another time in your life, but false now. It's either true or false right now, which is pretty amazing. And if you look around, like look at this entire building, look at all the missionaries that are here, like 2,000 years of church history. Actually, if you think about it logically, none of it makes any sense if there's not a chance that something's true there. If people have been doing this for this long, what if there's actually something there? So that's my invitation tonight. Like, what if you walked out of this room and you were even 10% happier than you were right now? 5%? Wouldn't it have been worth it? So I'm not selling you guys a car. I'm just up here talking, but I do want to invite you guys into that. So people have been missing Jesus since the very beginning. So I've missed him. You guys have missed him. Other people have missed him. Way back in the Old Testament, people have missed him all the way back to Moses. And to describe this, I actually have this amazing slide, and I need someone to tell me exactly what this is. Exactly what it is. Stop saying burrito. It's a beefy 5-layer burrito right there. That guy. Huge. Wonderful. And you might be asking yourself, wow, I remember the last time I had one of these. Or maybe you don't. Maybe it was that long ago. Whatever. So guys, tonight I'm going to suggest to you that people have been missing missing Jesus in the Old Testament just like we relate to these beefy 5-layer burritos. And what do you mean? What do I mean when I say that? Okay, here's I'm going to tell you an actually legitimate fictional story about me in high school. So there was this one day, I was driving back from high school, and on my way back home, I get a text from my mom, and she says, hey, dinner's ready. It's bacon-wrapped steak with like everything you could ever want, and it's on the table, and it's ready for when you get home. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. I'm driving back, but what do I see on the side of the road before I make it back there? I see a Taco Bell. I see it. And I have to pull into the drive-thru, and I have to get, I don't know, 1, 2, 4. Any 5s out there? Anybody brave enough? No? Okay, great. Absolutely insane. Maybe I get 5. Actually, I totally do in my story. I get 5, and I pound them. I mean, obviously, you have to eat it like before you get home. So I eat them all before I get home. And do I go to the dinner table before I get back? When I get back in, do I go to the dinner table? Nope. No. I actually go somewhere else. Where do I go? I go to the toilet. I go directly there, and I have an agonizing 2-hour episode on the toilet, getting all of this out of my body. And when I come downstairs, what do I have to do? I actually have to look at my mom in the face, and I say, I'm sorry. I could have eaten what was on the table, and it was probably like way better, for sure was. But I didn't. But I didn't. And so next time she might say, okay, come straight home, no more Taco Bell. You gotta bike to school now. I don't know, there might be something there. Like that makes sense in our head. But the exact same thing has been happening like in the Old Testament. And Rafe is gonna throw up this slide that's gonna have it make a lot more sense. But there's this point where we were actually in relationship with God. Like we had relationship with him. He reached out to us. He said, he initiated this relationship where we got a lot, by the way. Protection, provision, all these amazing things God would see to all of our needs. There was steak on the table all the time. And then we sinned. We stopped at Taco Bell. We decided that what God had for us was just like, we just like weren't feeling it that day. So we went to something else. Then there was a sacrifice that needed to take place. You come back down and you actually need to apologize for what you did. In the Old Testament. It was pretty crazy. They would like sacrifice in the Old Testament like looked like pretty insane. There was like blood and animal guts all over the place. And it was like you would basically take things that you like things that were worth it to you, and you'd give them back to God like as a show of your reverence, and you're like saying you're sorry. Like saying you're honestly sorry. Then there's rules that came. So there were 10 commandments on the first set of tablets that Moses brought down from the mountain. And by the time Jesus was born, does anyone know how many commandments there were actually in the law? Exact number. Oh, I hear something. There was 613. Because this cycle had it kind of spiraled. You guys know what it spiraled? And it literally kept going and kept going, and more sacrifice. And so this is actually the problem, because we kept turning to idols, like human sacrifice, like really nasty, like it's not a beefy 5-layer burrito. It's really sin is what that represents. Like they kept turning to that over God. And no sacrifice was actually enough to say, all right, God, we can make up for the way we've hurt you. We can make up for the hurt that we've done. Like we can't, as humans, offer that back up to God who's perfect. So he kept sending more rules, and heaven was closed to us. Like it's pretty crazy. Like before the time of Jesus, no one was getting into heaven. No one was getting into heaven. It was closed. And so what was God going to do about it? Well, he couldn't come into the relationship part of it, because if he came out of the relationship, we'd be screwed. He couldn't come into the sin part of it and cause us not to sin, because then we wouldn't have free will. He couldn't come into the rules part of it, because no loving parent looks at their spiraling child that they love very much and doesn't set up bumper rails for them. And he came into that part right there, the sacrifice part. That's where he chose to come in. Like that is where he came in, and this actually happened in history, and he broke the cycle, and he was present. And we actually say this, the nativity, like God became a person, God from God, light from light, true God from true God. We actually say all of that sort of stuff, and Rafe has a slide to show you on that one. But the thing is that he became one of us, and that's actually pretty crazy, because up there wasn't hurt, there wasn't discomfort. Down here there was. Up there wasn't pain. There wasn't exposure to people. Down here there was. And he came in, and it's kind of this fun analogy. It's like the artist who paints something became the art that he painted, like this. He's free out there. He's mortal. He's human in the other one, which is pretty amazing. And why would he do this is the question. And to answer this question, I'm going to need one brave volunteer to come up on the stage and reveal to me what is underneath this bag right here. Oh my gosh. Beefy 5-layer burrito guy, come on up here. Wonderful. Come on up. Take some guesses. What do you think's under here? It's a what? Taxidermy deer. The deer? Oh, I don't know about that. Okay, what's your name?
Sawyer.
Wow, Sawyer, what do you think is underneath said thing?
I think it's the deer.
You think it's the deer. Wow, a lot of people think it's the deer. I'm really excited, even though I know what's underneath it. All right, on the count of 3, Sawyer, you're going to lift that bag, and we're going to see what's under here. 1, 2, 3. Lift the bag. Harder. More. All the way. What the heck? What is that? Wow. That was like totally just like a red herring. Get that out here. It's a toilet. Everyone clap. Wow. Thank you, Sawyer. You're wonderful. You can go back. Wow, this thing looks beat up. It looks like I found it on the side of the road. I didn't, right? I did. Fantastic. So why is there a toilet up here? And to involve this toilet, I'm actually going to tell another really real, fictional, real story about me in high school. So there was this one morning, it was Tuesday, right? And I was actually coming downstairs, really groggy, ready to go back to bed, but I had to go to school. So I'm over here at the sink, right? I'm brushing my teeth, right? And when I came in, I kind of put my phone like right where it is, right there. And I'm like brushing my teeth, and I look over and I see something horrifying, right? I look over and I see my phone as it's right on the edge, and it's actually, oh no! That was a real scream. It fell into the toilet! What am I gonna do? This is what happened through my mind. It's pretty crazy. But guys, has this ever actually happened to anyone in the crowd? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And you have seconds to act, right? You have to figure out. The waterproof case ain't gonna cut it for very long, all right? You have to act, and here's your options, all right? Option number one. Option number one, you can get mad at the phone for falling into the toilet. You say, phone, how dare you fall into the toilet? How dare you, bad phone, bad phone. Option number two, you can say, phone, get yourself out of that toilet. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get yourself out of that toilet. Option number three, you could flush the toilet. Be horrible. Anyone ever done that? Don't raise your hands. Don't raise your hands. You could flush the toilet. You could just be like, all right, we're starting over. We're done. Or option number four. Option number four involves you rolling up your sleeves and getting your phone. You don't want to know what's in the toilet. It's bad. Okay, you could roll up your sleeves and you could get in there and get the phone. Guys, when I showed that picture of like the artist becoming the art, that is literally what God did for us. He said, a thing that I value very much has fallen into sin, into this toilet, into this cycle, and I have those options. And he didn't flush us. He actually rolled up his sleeve and he said, I'm coming in after you. I'm going to come get you. I'm going to save you from that and everything that's in there, And why would he do this? And this isn't like something I'm going to say and we're going to move on. Like, what was the last thing that you bought? On Amazon, at a store, I don't care what it is. Just think about what the last thing that you bought was. It's pretty crazy. And this is rhetorical, but why did you buy that thing? Maybe you needed it. Maybe you wanted it. Guys, at the end of the day, you bought that thing because you thought it was worth it. Why would Jesus come into this to get us? The real reason is because he actually thought we were worth it. And you might be looking at yourself and you're going, I don't know if I honestly believe that, Andrew. That's okay. We're going to get there. But the fact of the matter is Jesus came in for that, for us. And the question is, what is your toilet? What have you fallen into? What's in there? What is your toilet? What have you personally fallen into? This could be an intentional thing. This could be the cards that you were dealt as a person and you resent the life for it. Whatever that is. For me, growing up, life was pretty normal until it wasn't. And this was my toilet right here. Disconnecting from what's thoughts, feelings, memories, sense of identity, it is an unconscious defense mechanism that protects the mind from distress. I don't know if that resonates with any of you guys in here, but my life looked pretty normal until it didn't. And my parents got divorced when I was younger. And it was actually one of those situations where it was like, okay, that was like a necessary thing that needed to happen because my father was not a good person. He was he was very much so not a good person. And the preceding years after that, of living with him after that, brought me into this. Where something good happened, I didn't let it impact me. Something bad happened, didn't touch me either. I just retreated. People say bad things about me, don't care. Good things happen, don't care. All of it, don't care. Apathy, done. I don't care. But there was one little sliver of me during that time that held on to something. And Rafe is actually going to throw up this slide of what I held on to, and I would not let anyone take this from me at all. It's a promise, actually. It's a promise that way deep down, God was going to bring something good out of that. That I was sitting in this toilet of just sin in my life circumstances that I didn't feel like I had power over, and that somehow God was going to bring good out of that. And it was because of that. It was because of that promise, and I held on to that like it was my last thing, because at many points it was my last thing that I could possibly hold on to. And this is God's promise to us. This is why he sent a Messiah. The Messiah was someone who was supposed to come in and rescue, save, care for, deliver, bring out of, bring into. In Luke 4, Jesus kind of dictates his mission, and he says it's to bring good news, to bring liberty to people who feel like they're captives, recovery of sight to the blind, and release to people who are prisoners. That was true then, and it's true now, just as much as it was then. And you think, who are the people that Jesus chose, by the way, to hang around with? Tax collectors. You probably heard this preached from the homily in Mass before, tax collectors. But who were they? They were people that were outcast by society. They were socially rejected by not just like strangers, their friends, their family. Like, imagine your family taking your picture off of the wall because you didn't exist to them anymore. That's who that was. And I'm not saying you guys collect taxes, but I'm saying that some of us feel like that. Some of us, that's actually our life experience, that we're that far isolated, whether we show it or not. He came pretty realistically to seek and save people who were prostitutes at the time. Now, who are they? People who feel like they've lost their innocence, lost their dignity. People who feel like they gave away something that they can't get back, and they will never be able to be who they were. He came for them. It was his preference to be with them. He came for people who were blind, people who had illnesses from birth. And back then, if you were blind, you were born a cripple or something like that, it was actually believed that it was because of your sin, because of your parents' sin, that you were cursed by God. God became man and chose preferentially to be with them. Who are they today? Some of them are in this room today. People who feel like because of the circumstances that they have been dealt from just the cards that they got, they are worth nothing. That how could someone love me when how could Jesus see me in a good light when I keep? Those are those people. And he prefers to be around them. His ministry, his desire to save those people has not gone away. That it's still present, like today, in this room, you could say. And before he could actually do this, he had to remember the cycle. He had to break that cycle to show us that he truly was committed to rolling up his sleeves and going in after us into whatever this represents for us. This toilet, whatever it represents. And so he chose to do that in a really amazing way. It's something called sacrificial love. And I honestly hope that you've experienced, and when I say this, you know what I'm talking about. But for some of us, it might be a little bit more, you might be like, Andrew, I don't know if I've ever felt that before. Someone looking at you and saying, I love you for you, and I don't want anything from you. I just want to give to you. I hope we've experienced that, but I know for a fact some of us have a hard time remembering the last time that happened for us. Before he could do this, he actually became man, like I said, and the culmination of this, the big point that happened in his life was actually the crucifixion. And it started with him in the garden. It started with him in the garden, which the scriptures say that when this time he felt so heavily laden, like so burdened by what was about to happen to him, the crucifixion, that in fact he actually started to sweat blood. And this is a real thing called hematohydrosis. It's an actual thing that happens to people when they're in such immense stress that their blood vessels break into their sweat pores. and blood starts appearing on the outside of their skin. This actually happens. This actually happened. Why? I mean, I get stressed out when I have a test. Why would someone to that level of, wow, this is about to happen to me? What was he thinking about? This is Jesus, the person, history book, 2,000 years ago. This actually happened. That person, what was he thinking about? It was you. Why did he get up and let himself be dragged away by people with torches, rioters? Why did he do that? Did he think you were worth it? The next part, the Romans took him, and they actually, a part of his passion was that they did something where they flogged him, which is like getting whipped, but it wasn't just a normal whip. It was actually something called a flagellum, or a cat of nine tails. And it was a whip that had a bunch of things on the end, like glass, hooks, metal beads, and they would take it, and they wouldn't just get your back with it 39 times. They would get your front, they'd get your legs, they'd get your head. It was designed to pull flesh off of a person. He knew that's what he was in for. And why did he still do it? He could have said just a few sentences and they would have let him go. He chose to do that. Why would someone choose to do this? He wasn't looking for attention. He didn't get some gold trophy for doing this. No, he got just the possibility that in this room you might say yes to him, that you might let him come in after you and save you, that you might. After this, he carried the cross through the streets, and imagine that. Like, I find it hard to walk when I have I have a blister on my foot. He's carrying a cross, looks like that, splinters into his shoulders, walking for miles up a hill while people are just publicly jeering at him and hating him and spitting on his body. What causes someone to do that willingly? Willingly. Why would he do it willingly? No one was forcing him, guys. It was you. That for all of time after that, the gates of heaven would be open to the people who looked at him and said, Jesus, I need you. Just the possibility of you looking at him and saying that. At the top, he was stripped naked in front of everyone. The clothes that he was wearing had adhered to his flesh, and they were pulled off, and all the scabs and all the rest of the skin came off. And he was nailed through the main nerves in his wrists to a cross and put up there to die like a criminal unjustly for us. Because through that cycle, we were supposed to pay it. But for all of time, he paid it. And he was up there for 3 hours, and every single breath that he took, he had to push up on his legs and pull up, because you don't die from necessarily from blood loss in crucifixion. You die from suffocating because your body can't sustain the amount of pressure pulling down on it anymore. For 3 hours, he could have given up every single breath, but he didn't. He went the whole time. Just enough time to break that cycle. Just the possibility to bring us into relationship. Because he thought you were worth it. And then he died. Which actually, the disciples, the apostles at the foot of the cross, they didn't actually think that that's what was supposed to happen, right? The Messiah was supposed to come and lead them to victory, right? Jesus was supposed to show up, and everything was supposed to be fine after that because he was there, right? But then he died. And this is incredible because they were asking, where's the victory? Where's the Lord? And don't we do the exact same thing? Don't we do the exact same thing? Well, if God was real, then if God really loved me, then Where was God when? How could God have let? This should sound familiar in our heads because we've thought this stuff before. We've been at the foot of the cross just as much as they were going, he's dead. Where's our hope supposed to be placed in? What am I supposed to live for anymore? And if you could go back in time to the foot of the cross, what would you tell them? Would you tell them that, like, hey, I know the next chapter, just wait. Have hope. Trust in what he said. In the exact same way, I'm actually telling a lot of you guys the exact same thing. If you feel like the Lord hasn't shown up in your life, if you feel like he's there and you're here, I'm telling you as someone who's waited and seen what's on the other side of that cross, have hope. God values persistence very highly. Someone who continues to walk in faith towards him. And maybe you're someone that, in fact, you're not as, you don't have that mentality. God hasn't shown up, so I'm throwing it out. So I'm done. I'm throwing it out. And I want to ask you something. Who do you want to be in 10 years? I don't know when the last time you thought about that was, but who do you honestly want to be in 10 years? You have a family maybe, you have a job. You still want to be addicted? Do you still want to be a slave to those things in your life that you're struggling with right now? Do you still want fear and the thought of what other people think about you when you're 40 to control your comfortability level in social situations? In 10 years, do you want that to be you still? Do you want you to be you still? In 10 years, do you still want to be a bully? Do you still want to be like a mean girl to other people? Is that what you want people to say about you? In 10 years, do you want to wake up in 10 years and see the person in the mirror and actually like your life? Actually love who you are. Not because you've done all this amazing stuff or you're perfect or you're this or you're that, but because Jesus Christ has told you that he loves you, and that's where you get your worth from. That's where you get your self-worth from, is from him. In 10 years, do you still want to be in here? In this, whether you haven't chose this or you have. Or you have. And so many of us do choose that every single day. We look at that and say, I'm going to go for another burrito. I know it's not going to fill me. I know it's making me just go downwards. I know it is, but I'm still going to choose it because this or that or whatever reason you want to put on it. We need to ask forgiveness for our sin. It's just a fact. We need to look at that face that did that for us. And there has to be an interaction there where we give up the things that we're holding on to, all those burritos, all of this that we keep going back to. And the fact of the matter is that you can hold on to all that if you want to. But I want to show you guys what is on the other side of letting those things go. And it's actually what's behind this thing right here. You might be wondering what's underneath here. I kind of am too. Imagine waking up in the morning tomorrow and feeling like this. Like a blank slate. Like everything you've actually ever done. Like shame isn't written on here. Fear isn't written on here. Nothing else is written on here. No achievements, no nothing. They're all gone. Where you're free, you're clean. And we have a part to play in that, where we look at it and we say, Lord, I offer you whatever is written on here for you. I actually offer that to you. And I want you to do something about it because you're God and I'm not. And this is the real gospel. And someone told me this, and it's actually summed up in 5 words. There is a way out. Like it's actually true of this. Of the addiction, of the personality you feel like you've built up around yourself, of all those things that are keeping you from being who you actually want to be in 10 years. from all of this, there's a way out from it. And it's the same way out for 2,000 years that people have actually been finding freedom. Actually been finding freedom. And I'm not telling you this because I read it in a book. I'm telling you this because it's my life now. Because I live like that every morning and I love who I am. And even if my days are hard, I love waking up. So tonight, guys, Jesus is actually alive. And he's someone that lived 2,000 years ago, and he's someone who is just as present and wants to heal you and bring you out of whatever you're in just as much as tonight as he did when he was actually on earth. And you're not the exception as well. You're not too far. You're not forgotten. You haven't given this a shot and failed too many times. That's not how this works. You win by staying in the game. You win by staying in the game. Tonight we're going to be responding with some worship and some adoration. And I don't know if any of you guys have actually experienced adoration before, but in Mass, and Ray's going to show up a slide of it. In Mass, there's this moment, it's called the elevation, where the bread, it actually becomes his presence, fully physically present. Guys, I would give my life, as a 23-year-old, I would give my life for what's about to be on the stage tonight. That Jesus, the real presence at Mass, is going to be here present on the altar for us to look at and for him to look at us. And if anything you feel like you've stirred up in your heart tonight or during this week, that you actually want to respond to that, this is going to be the chance to do that, to look at him in that way. And this is actually what it's going to look like. We're going to put that body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus into something called a monstrance. And it's this amazing gold trophy case that's going to be on this altar. And it's a throne is what it is. It's where he's fully present there, and his graces and his presence, you don't have to do a thing, you just have to receive it. It's the easiest way to be in relationship with him is let him look at you tonight, all of you, every part of you. So tonight, I want to invite us into that. First, I want to invite us into prayer as we go back into worship. So if you join me in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, amen. God, I ask that you are present in this room tonight. I ask in Jesus' name that the Holy Spirit would come and break chains, bring us out of our toilet, Lord. Bring us out of whatever we feel like we're stuck in and are unable to get out. God, I ask that you bring us into hope tonight. That no matter how many times we feel like we've given this a shot, no matter how many times we feel like we've turned our back on you, Lord, that tonight we wouldn't see all of that rejection in your eyes, that it's not present, that we would just see your acceptance. So, Holy Spirit, I ask that you become present in this place tonight. That you change something tonight, that maybe if we're willing, we let you change our life. As we go and enter into worship, I just want to invite you guys to stand up. And enter in tonight like something could actually change for you, for your life. When you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning. Nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. to tremble at the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning. Nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. Jesus, 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 Please kneel. We love you. We'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you. We love you. We love you. We'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, and we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Jesus. When you walk into the room, sickness starts to vanish. Every hopeless situation ceases to exist. When you walk into the room, the dead begin to rise, as there is rest.